came in John 12:1, he came in on the 10th day. In John 12:2, on the next day, in John 12:1, he says it was 6 days from then that they was at Lazarus' house. In John 12:2, you take away 1 from 6 equals 5. We know and understand that from the 10th to the 14th is 5 days, but we get it. We are in error when we do simple mathematics. 10 plus 4 equals 14, so we think it's only 4 days. But that's not the account. If we count the whole day of the 10th day, from evening to evening is 1 day, from evening to evening 2 days, from evening to evening 3 days, from evening to evening 4 days, from evening to evening 5 days. Okay, so from the 10th to the 14th is 5 days, and we are to kill it at the evening of the 14th. All right, so we have 5 days. Okay, so Messiah went to Lazarus' house 6 days away from Passover. Then it says on the next day he went into Yerushalayim. So we take 1 from 6 and it equals 5. And the Exodus account, we saw that from the 14th to the 10th is 5 days. In the Exodus account, they had the lamb in the homes from the 10th day to the evening of the 14th day. So we see Messiah fulfilling that part of Scripture in the Brit Hadashah. John 13:1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. John 13:2. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Okay, so here John is calling it a meal, a dinner. He's not calling it a Passover Seder or Passover meal. He's just calling it a meal. It's just a supper, not Passover. And we notice in verse 1, he is saying the same thing Matthew is saying. Before the Passover is what Matthew writes in Matthew's 26 verse 2. In 2 days is the Passover. Right here, John is telling us in John 13:1, he's telling us that before the feast of Passover. Okay, so they're not contradicting each other's testimony. They're actually both saying the same thing. All right, let's continue. So let me see. I find right here in John 13:1, we see them eating the meal again, the same place that we saw them eating the meal at 26:2. Right here at the evening, closing out the 13th. Closing out the 13th. All right. Closing out the 4 days of being in Yerushalayim. Okay. John 13:29. For some of them thought because Judas had the money bag that Yeshua had said unto him, buy those things that we have need against the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. Okay, so this is a problem. If they were well into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, in John 13:29, the 11 wouldn't be thinking that Messiah sent them out to buy something for the Feast of Passover. Because by the time they're well into the unleavened bread, they would have already everything for Passover. See, they would have had the wine, the bread, the lamb, the milk, the fruits. They would have already bought everything for the Passover if they were already well into unleavened bread. And another thing, Messiah wouldn't send a Judas Iscariot out to go buy on a high Sabbath. That is a high Sabbath. He wouldn't ask him to buy anything on a high Sabbath. Okay? So, Matthew's, well, let's continue. John 18:18. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves, and Peter stood with them and warmed himself. Okay? So in Matthew's 26:31 through 34, they took Messiah at night. So it's a perfectly good explanation of why it would be cold in John 18:8. Okay? Because it's cold right now. It's April, March right now, and it's cold outside right now in the daylight. So I can imagine it would be cold at night. Okay. 1828 would be right here. You see right here? They're already well into the 14th day. They're already well into the 14th day at night. This black shaded area here is night. They're already well into the 14th day. Okay, so by the evening of the 15th, they're going to be doing the preparation, and Messiah is going to come before judgment and up on the stake and so on and so forth. And so we're going to continue, but this is where they are. This little black shaded area here. Okay? And we can count down these days when we pay attention to these accounts when they're saying evening and morning and night. And this is how we count down these days. It's no coincidence that Matthew and John made it their business to put evening, morning, and night in all these different accounts. So we can count down the days. From the moment that Messiah came in to the moment that he said in 2 days, to the this is why all this is in there. So we have to be very careful to pay attention to those mornings and evenings and days and nights, so we can count down the days. Okay, so 1828. Then they led Yeshua from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Okay, so we see in John 18:28, it's early before the Passover unleavened bread festival. This begins the first day of being in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. This begins that time. At John 18:28, this is when it begins. When they bring him into the judgment hall, this is when the 3 days and 3 nights begin. Okay? Now, let's read and see why I say that. In Matthew's 12:40, for as Jonas, these are the words of Messiah, for as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Okay. Very careful key points we need to pay attention to. He said was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly. Then he goes and says, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. He did not say be in the earth, but he says in the heart of the earth. He did not say in the midst of the earth. He did not say under the earth. But he says in the heart of the earth. Okay? So, let's look up this word heart. In the Greek is Greek's numbers 2588. Cardia, the heart, that organ in the animal body which is in the center of the circulation of the blood, denotes the center of a physical and spiritual life. The soul or mind, the understanding, the will, the character. Okay, the soul, so far as if it's affected and stirred in a bad way or good. Okay, so let's look up the lead. That's heart in the Hebrew. It's Strong's Hebrews 38:20. Inner man, mind, will, heart, understanding, inner part,